So, you've begun playing the One Piece card game recently. You've been looking at the products, and you see that there are 20 starter decks. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and rank all 20 decks and see where they belong on the tier list based on the playability in the meta. So I'm talking like cards that are within the deck that belong in other decks that actually win. Before we get into it though, I do want to emphasize that... What the hell did I want to emphasize? Shit, bro. I don't know if you saw my other tier list, but there's like pretty much half the product here since we're not doing all the sealed stuff, just the decks. I'll go ahead and give like a quick explanation of what cards are in the meta. Just to help you out, you know? Alright, number 1, starter deck Luffy. B tier. There is only one really good card, but it is really good that hasn't been reprinted yet. It's going to be Diable Jambe. If you're familiar with Dofi in this meta, basically the perfume femur of Straw Hat Red. So there's that. Going back, we'll do Eustace, also B tier. The reason is because we've got Jewelry Bonnie. She's been reprinted, but she's a pretty meta character right now to be playing. Shit. We also have Restand Law, where in OP10, this card sees some play in the green-yellow Law deck. And that's pretty much it for this one, so we'll put the next deck. Crocodile will be down in Deer, unfortunately. It seems like at this point, every single one of these cards has been reprinted with the exception of Love Love Mellow. Unfortunately, the only deck that sees play for this card is going to be Milnami, a deck I personally hate. So I think D tier, D tier. This card even got reprinted too in the revision pack from Paramount War. So there technically hasn't been a single card in this entire deck that hasn't been reprinted. Moria has been reprinted, Mihawk, Dofi. The only one that hasn't been is Crocodile, but even still, nobody plays this card. All right. Next up, Animal Kingdom Pirates is going to be C tier. The only reason I say C instead of D will be specifically because of Onigashima Island. This may be locked to like 2 or 3 liters, but it is key for those in those decks, as opposed to like say the Dofi deck, where most of those are just pieces that have either been reprinted or just don't see play. So unfortunately, we're gonna be putting Film Shanks in D tier. When I started this game, I actually started with this deck. Shout out to Joey when I beat him with Green Kid versus Purple Shanks. Yeah, I was the Purple Shanks. Anyway, Douglas Bullet is pretty much, and Uda are pretty much the only 2 cards that have seen play in the meta, unfortunately. Oh, I lied. This card also, which was amazing in the now banned Red Purple Law. There are simply just no good cards in this deck right now that see play in the meta. This card gets splashed sometimes, but again, pretty rarely. Let's go ahead and put Absolute Justice at C tier. This is the only starter deck with a banned card. This card is not legal for any tournament play. Brings me back to Blue Black Sakazuki. This is C tier specifically because it's got cards that see utility like Hina, which hasn't really been reprinted yet. Tashigi has been reprinted, but sees a lot of play. Helmeppo also sees a lot of meta play in decks like Black Lucci. So I feel C tier is appropriate. We've got Big Mom, deck number 7. She'll go up in B tier. As you can see, we have a single card in this deck that is worth more than the MSRP of the deck itself. This card saw a lot of play back in the day when it was like set 3, set 4 with Katakuri leader. And yeah, it's mainly just because of this Big Mom card itself that carries it into the B tier where it's at. Let's go ahead and put Luffy is D tier. I don't think this deck has seen a single playable card until like the past month with Shirahoshi. Even then, she's only in the Black Yellow Luffy deck, so it's pretty questionable as far as like cards that are playable in this. But yeah, again, there's only one card that's really meta in this, and it's going to be in only one deck. So I feel D tier is appropriate for this deck. Let's put Yamato, also D. It suffers the same situation that the Luffy deck faces. I mean, look, the most expensive card is the leader itself. That kind of says something. This card was pretty good too. It did see a little bit of relevance in Japan, but it never really carried over in NA. So if I were to put it at if the lower tier was possible, it would definitely go there, but D tier it is. Let's put Starter Deck 10 is the first Ultra deck. It'll also be the first A tier deck. It's seen many cards in this particular in this particular format even. It's still seeing some cards, but not as much. We're talking specifically the leader, Eustace Captain Kidd. There's some relevance with him. He beats down Shanks pretty easily, but actually I take it back. I don't know if it's pretty easy in the matchup, but I know he does have the ability to ramp up faster than Shanks, which can win him the game. Another good card, Red Purple Luffy leader. It seems like for the most part, most of the actual character cards aren't actually relevant. But I would say both Luffy and Kid alone, the fact that they're leaders that are representative in the meta, and also a banned leader, I can't really count him towards the deck at all, but for what it's worth, you pretty much need the leaders to play the deck. So again, as far as playability, A tier. Value, probably not as good, but Uda deck, C tier. There's 2 Uda decks in circulation right now. This had the Paramount War reprint as well, so it had the Luffy, the Brook, the Chopper, the Jinbei. All the character cards from Paramount War that were filmed were pretty much in here, except for Film Nami. It's in C tier because this deck may not be meta, however, it is super easy to build to play in a competitive format. It doesn't have a lot of good matchups now, but that's not to say it could change up in the future. Let's put Zoro Sanji up in A tier. This is the same deal as Starter Deck 10. The leader itself sees a lot of meta relevance. as far as spicy techs. It runs the Warlord package sometimes. There's also a lot of like really spicy pure Weevil builds. I had somebody at my locals also run a Fishman build, which was very nice. Other cards that belong well include Mihawk. He doesn't see a lot of meta play now, but to have a 3-drop 2k summon a 4 cost or less is very nice. Very nice. All right, I think we're going to be seeing our first S tier deck. We've got the Three Brothers deck. I was debating between S and A, but when you compare the value of the Three Captains deck to the Three Brothers deck, it's kind of a no-brainer that this deck is top tier. Specifically because not only does it come with a booster pack for these delicious black and white alt arts, we've got Ace that's relevant. We've got, for the black and yellow Luffy leader, we have pretty much like 80% of the deck consists of the cards here. We're talking like Luffy, Kid Sabo, Kid Ace. We're talking Three Brothers, which is the searcher for these guys. We've got Ivankov and Makino, which still sees play in black, yellow Luffy. Again, 80% of the deck belongs towards this leader. And I'd say this leader is in the top 3 right now in the NA meta as far as February, where we're at. So, S tier. If 14, 3D2Y. We'll go ahead and put this deck in A tier. The leader itself was a little relevant in the last format. I'm thinking like set 8. However, this Sanji alone will see a lot of play very soon. I have the feeling, you know, it's a really good effect. No discard to KO a 5 or less. You just have to have something 6 or more. Yeah, as opposed to like older cards that you had to discard to get rid of 5 costs. This is definitely like a type of power creep that is evident. Also, Nami is seeing some play in the black-yellow Luffy deck I was talking about just earlier, and that's why it's A tier. For these last 5 decks, I need to note that they also come with the premium best booster pack within the deck. I'm not going to count that towards this, but if you did see my last tier video, the premium best booster pack is the S tier product to chase when you're getting all sealed products. All right, so Newgate. We'll put him in B. Newgate doesn't see a lot of meta cards as of right now, but what is good is going to be this one specific card. This is the one card that'll carry it to the B tier. It sees decent play in Shanks. There's some cycling of decks where they run between 2 to 3 of these. It's pretty good tech to counter out decks like Doflamingo and stuff. But yeah, Shanks deck, Newgate character. Uda will go right next to the other Uda deck. This is what completes the deck to become meta relevant. It's got new characters that aren't reprinted. What is reprinted in this deck are the events here. These are all alternate arts of the original, as well as some promo cards that appeared in Starter Deck Uda. The Starter Deck Uda battle, that is. Yeah, there was a promotional pack that came with specifically this card, as well as this card. Actually, yeah. All right, so C tier. We'll have another S tier deck here. This is officially the strongest deck and will be the strongest deck for the unforeseeable future. We did just get an announcement yesterday that there will be a ban list coming out about a month from now, March 16th, after Bandai Fest. We've got Buggy, we've got Law, who's speculated to possibly get limited or possibly banned in the upcoming formats. There's also Boa Blocker here. And Teach. Yeah, so with these cards and a bunch of reprints that have happened also in this deck that aren't shown here, Doflamingo is the S tier deck. Therefore, it only makes sense that the starter deck is also S tier. Purple Luffy. Man, we're getting a lot of S tiers up in here, huh? We're gonna put him up in here in S tier as well because there's a lot going on with this deck. The leader himself, I would say, is within the top 5 meta-relevant leaders. I don't know why it's not here. But Usohachi himself is a staple when it comes to purple decks. Like, a lot of decks can see this card for sure. 2k, rest of 5 cost for 3. It's basically the Izo for purple, I just realized. Green Izo for purple, Usohachi. Here's the leader card. He's within the top 5 leaders, I would say, as of right now for the meta. And it's only going to grow more relevant, I would think. Cards like Luffy Taro that spam out Zoro Juro. That searches into pretty much the rest of the deck. This, yeah, S tier, S tier, without being said. If you like the Straw Hats as well, and you're like super fan hard, this is the deck I recommend to play. We'll put Smoker in C tier. Smoker kind of has this weird little issue where it sees competitive play, but the other black decks just kind of are better than Smoker. I hate to say it. Blackbeard is better. Lucci's better. A friend of mine at Locals kind of put it bluntly when he said that this is basically a high roll deck in order to win. And even still, then you sometimes just don't win. So, C tier. Last but not least, Katakuri. He's between B and C. I'm gonna have to put him in B only because Newgate's up here as well. Let's put it next to Big Mom for. Okay. The Katakuri leader himself was very relevant once upon a time. It's not seeing as much play anymore. What is seeing a good amount of play is this Charlotte Linlin card, belonging in Vegapunk, belonging in the new Nico Robin deck, even in Pudding. I haven't seen Pudding really run it, but it can be. This card is a menace when it comes to just starving out your opponent. I would say this is a really good rush down, like aggro type card when it comes to the yellow aspect of things. But this card alone is the reason it's in B tier. Here's the complete tier list. I hope you guys agree with what I'm saying as far as this goes. This is just an accumulation of everything since I've been playing this game. Again, I started at Starter Deck 5, so I like to think I know what I'm saying when it comes to all this stuff. If you haven't seen my other tier list video, I will link it below. I've probably put it up. If I haven't in the video, it's because I simply don't know how to. If I do, it'll be up there or over there. I don't fucking know where my camera is. All right, thanks for watching. As soon as I come up with an idea for another good video, I'll be back. Till then, stay warm. Happy winter.